I'm so excited. My name is Lisa Meskel. I'm the executive director here at the ESJ branch. My co-worker friend, Rhonda Kapusta, she's the executive director at the Berlin branch. Welcome to our first town hall meeting as our Y. I can't believe it's been almost 2 years since our last meeting, and for those who don't know, it was in response to the announcement that our branches were closing. When I think about the journey that we've been on for the past 2 years, there's one word that always comes to mind: perseverance. The definition: continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. We had our fair share of difficulties and opposition, but never failure. Never. Very proud of that. Thank you. We survived closure in September 2019. 2020, another closure due to the pandemic. But here we are today, 2021. We are here to stay. You know, we are open for good. So thank you for your support with that. At RY, you are not just a member of a facility. You truly are part of a community made up of friends and family. Our Y members experience a sense of belonging that cannot be found anywhere else, and that's what helped save us. Thank you, really. Working globally and independently, proud to say that. Our focus on empowering people of all ages, improving their health and well-being, and inspiring action across our community is what sets us apart. It truly does. We believe that everyone in our community should have that opportunity to benefit from our cause-driven programs and services, and then that's something Rhonda will be touching on in a couple of minutes. As a nonprofit community-centered organization, we are positioned to help everyone succeed by offering our financial assistance or scholarship to those in need and opening our doors to all. And if you look behind you, all those hearts on there, those are from our members' donations. You know, we're raising money for our annual campaign. Part of that, the funding, actually funds our scholarships. So we'll never ever turn anyone away due to the inability to pay. That's not who we are. Thank you. Thank you to our members, donors, volunteers, I love our staff, my gosh, board of directors, thank you, and our community partners. Oh my God, everyone, volunteers. Your support is keeping our community centers open for future generations. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rhonda Kapusta. Thank you all so much for coming out on a Thursday night. We really appreciate your time and your energies and your passion for this community of RY. So thank you sincerely. I would like to be the brag and boast, and that's my portion, with a grateful heart. And that grateful heart is what makes this community. So to start with, it's the members. It's you guys who were there on September 17th, 2019, hot sun, signing up as RY, as the first members of RY. Then you stayed through a pandemic, where we're now seeing those members who maintain their membership, even through the pandemic, and now they're comfortable to return. And we're so glad to see all those members come back. So that support kept us bolstered through this time, so thank you. This mission that we started September 17th, it didn't stop when we closed on September 13th as Sarasota YMCA. It was re-energized, it was redefined, and it started on September 17th with your sign-up. And so if you have the goals and initiatives, it was up at the front desk, or the welcome desk. I'd like to go through a little bit of that and how we're getting there. Essentially what this is about is what we've accomplished, what we're working on, and what we're working towards. And that's through the support of members, but also I'd like to talk about our volunteers. So our volunteers help support the staff and the fundraising efforts. And I'd like to just touch on one point with that, and that's with the Flanzer Trust, where donations are doubled, the matching campaign. I don't know if you know this, but that was petitioned by volunteer members of our Y. And they had to write a letter campaign because originally we were denied. They thought, oh, you're a gym. They had to write and define, oh no, we're a community, and here's what they do for us. And they reconsidered, and we became one of the nonprofits that they honor with the matching program. That was volunteers' effort that made that happen. So that is one of those that we are so grateful for. Through that Flanzer Trust, we have raised over $140,000 this year alone, 2021, 5 months, more than we raised in 2020. That is something to be proud of as a community, as donors. We're so appreciative. Thank you. I'd also like to comment to our volunteer board, who have devoted their time tirelessly in supporting and helping us navigate as a startup grassroots, was what I like to call us, an ongoing mission, a startup and a grassroots all in one. And it's a volunteer board that has worked. I think they meet as much as we're open. And we'd like to thank your spouses and your families as well for the time that you have given. That board, what they have done is they have connected us with potential collaborations and partners where we can be strategic in how we can grow and bolster our mission. So you will see on the backside of goals and initiatives, you will see some of those community collaborations and partnerships. And I'd like to give an example of that in that forum. We were connected with the Sarasota Housing Coalition. Through those meetings, we have now offered our Social Black Belt program to the underserved youth living in the housing district. That's incredible. We've had 2 successful 6-week series. We plan to pick it right back up where we left off in the fall. So those are programs that we are able to do through reaching out to nonprofit partners, other partners in the community, so that we can bolster that mission, because we are 2 branches. We are a small, on the size of it, organization, but we have a great impact. And so thank you guys for those connections that help us expand. So that's just one of those from our volunteer board. Then I'd like to talk about our generous donors. So you'll see the $140,000, but what our generous donors did is they provided the startup funds that got us to the point where we could actually Save Our Y. Donors then continued to bring in the money so that we could secure our Y through the purchase. And then we are able to, through generous donations, to provide $16,000 in youth scholarships for summer camp, over $50,000 in sponsorships for membership for those who cannot afford a membership. That's in 2020. I'm not even talking 21. We're bringing on summer camp at Berlin campus. We didn't do it last year, but we are bringing it this year. Continuing with ESJ this year. ESJ sold out in weeks. Berlin is well on its way to selling out. That's a tremendous effort. So those are those donations that provide camp for kids. So thank you guys for your donations and continued donations. Then, to Lisa's point, our dedicated staff. Our staff has worked towards this mission, and they can only do it with your support as members, as volunteers, as donors. It would be a very quiet gym if we didn't have all of you. So that's what I'd like to speak to, is what our staff has done. Our ESJ staff has secured after-school activities with Ashton, starting with this next upcoming school year. We will be back to providing after-school activities, and that's in large part thanks to Robbie Tello and Wendy Richards from the ESJ team. So amazing stuff with that. So we'll have after-school camp coming back. Then also, we have a collaboration, which this document doesn't even have, of the R.L. Taylor, and that's in large part thanks to Kim Diffender, our products director at the Berlin Y. Well, we will be providing swim lessons at R.L. Taylor this summer. We're going to take our talents, and it's through a donation of the Mondo Foundation to provide swim lessons for those kids. I think we're doing about 8 weeks this summer. So incredible support of our staff. And then the other is that it's this synergy that I think we need to really celebrate, that we've been able to do this with reducing our operating expenses, Mark will like this, by over 30%. We're doing this on less of a budget, and we're doing it, and we're doing it well. This document that you hold in your hands on goals and initiatives, it's not static, it's where we are at this point in time, but even with R.L. Taylor, we're continuing to expand. So anything you would like to speak with, I know I speak on behalf of Lisa, we have an open door policy. You have an issue, you have an idea, please come in. If we're not in, leave a note, we'll find you. We really do want to speak with you, we really do want your input, because without our members, without our volunteers, without our volunteer board, without our donors, and without the staff, this would be an empty gym. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. And I'd like to turn it over actually to Mark Schafer. Speaking of volunteers, he is our volunteer CEO. And I'll turn it over to him. And if you have any questions, we do have index cards. If you'd like to write them down, we'll collect and then we'll present those after Mark.
Thanks, Rhonda. Did you use the half-inch by half-inch index cards for the questions? All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out this afternoon. I want to start by apologizing for the very late notice of this meeting. We've had, frankly, a lot of things going on in the background leading up to today. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. But we had thought we would do a larger event in the fall, and we still will. But the idea today was just to give you an update, because frankly we've been too quiet for too long. There are reasons for that. Among other things, you know, in some of the discussions we've had, I'll talk about in a minute, we were subject to non-disclosure agreements as part of the negotiations that we were in, so we really couldn't talk about some of the things that were going on. And we've been very busy just getting us through the pandemic and dealing with a variety of things, both good and bad, over the last year, and especially going into this year. So, but we are, I'm happy to say that we are in excellent financial condition right now. We will end the year probably with a good amount in the bank, and we are comfortable. We are set. Now, Rhonda had mentioned that we have reduced our operating costs by 30%. She's actually being very modest. When we started this process in September of 19, these branches had a budget, a monthly budget of $500,000. $500,000 every month was what the expenses were. We are now running at about $250,000. So if you can imagine that, that's half of what that amount used to be, and yet we're still delivering all the services that, you know, that our members are used to. And we have had to reduce to some extent during the pandemic, but that's just consistent with the demand and the needs of social distancing. So from a fiscal standpoint, we are probably about as efficient as we could possibly be. So which kind of brings me to my next point, and that is that we, as you've seen in the paper, we have been in discussions with Sky, now it's renamed YMCA of Southwest Florida. When we started this endeavor, our primary objective as a board from the very beginning was to make sure that whatever we did was done to ensure the long-term survival of these branches. Not for 5 years, not for 10 years, but for 20, 30. And we were determined that whatever we did was going to ensure that we did not repeat the mistakes of the past. And so, among other things, we had a fiduciary duty to consider any options that might enhance that survival likelihood. And financially, we've always felt very comfortable, especially in the last 6 months with what our position was. So we did not enter this out of a need to save ourselves or to have someone come in and save us. It was done out of the idea that if organizations are working towards a common goal, it's always better for the community if they get together. And so this is how we approach the discussions with Sky family-wide. I'm not going to go into much detail about it, but after extensive deliberation, meeting with them, conferring among ourselves, doing analysis of all the numbers, we have determined that it is our best course of action right now is to remain independent. There are two reasons for this. One is financial. That is that COVID has been extremely disruptive to it's been disruptive to nonprofits, it's been disruptive to the fitness and wellness industry, and it's been doubly disruptive to entities that are both. And so it is really an incredibly tough business climate out there right now, and this will continue. We have things on the horizon that are going to make it more difficult to run these operations. One of them is the Florida minimum wage increases. That's very challenging, especially here in the state of Florida, where people get paid, $11 and $12 an hour, and it's going to $15. And these are, the wage increases are a good thing for people. We need them, but at the same time, it presents significant challenges and increases to personnel costs. These are things that we have to look at in making this determination. And so, again, we've come to the conclusion for financial reasons alone that we are better off remaining independent until we have additional clarity into how these organizations that did survive COVID are managing with what are likely to be permanent changes. Okay. In addition to the other factors I've talked about, there are certain changes in demographics. There's various things that are going on, and it just creates some uncertainty, over the next 2 to 5 years. So we'll see how this goes. Our spirit was always from the beginning that we thought of ourselves as a YMCA. We wanted to become a YMCA again if it was possible. Some decisions were made at the level of YUSA that came out differently to what we expected, including the fact that they made the determination that they are not issuing new charters for organizations. They support a strategy of large regional YMCAs because they believe in economies of scale, and certainly that's a very valid business strategy to have, but large size does not always guarantee success. And unfortunately, we've seen large systems in other cities that are also not doing all that well. So the entire model is being challenged right now. I'm not just referring to YMCAs, the entire sort of fitness and wellness challenge, and it's a good idea for us to keep going on our own. It doesn't mean down the road that we can't partner with the YMCA, and there have been and will continue to be ongoing discussions to that effect. I think that when two organizations each have their advantages, it makes perfect sense for them to get together and leverage what each one of them has to offer. So, and the important thing in all of this is partnership. It's what successful communities are built on. So there's no reason why that can't happen in the future in the service of the community. So what does this mean right now? We have YMCA of Southwest Florida is going to come into Sarasota. They're going to provide services. We are here. We're also providing services. The two missions will be different. YMCA of Southwest Florida right now is focused on fairly heavily, besides the branch operations that they continue to have, they will also be taking over the operations of Manatee YMCA. And building that out and bringing that back to health. They're also focused on education activities, early learning, charter schools in some locations, and they are very effective in these things, and they're important resources for the community to have. So when they initially come into Sarasota, they are going to be, according to our understanding of what they have told us, they are going to be involved in early learning activities, mostly at existing school campuses. And with that will be additional programs such as before and after school and camps during the summer. So this will be a different mission from what we are doing, which is really branch-based community service. I think there's been a mention made of the fact that they might build a branch here in Sarasota in the future. There's nothing definite there. And quite frankly, the investment needed for that is on the order of $67 million. It's a massive investment. So we don't know what the future holds, but that's kind of where we are right now. As for us, we'll continue to be the traditional YMCA model, YMCA-like, providing services out of the branch and doing all the community outreach programs that we love to do. So I guess I'll stop talking now and ask if anybody has questions. Okay.
Anyhow, we appreciate all the good job that the board and employees have done for the Y. But I have some concerns. I'm here 4 times a week. One is the air conditioner. And I know it's a big ticket item, but can we have a capital campaign for it? Or can we talk to an air conditioning firm that are members that might do some special work for us? Or get a grant for it, any of those things, because it's very old and it needs replacing.
Okay, so Marge is concerned about the air conditioner. I'm getting a little hot under the collar just thinking about the air conditioner. So let me talk to you about our air conditioners for a minute. We have, here at ESJ, we have something called a chiller. It is very large, it is very old, and there's one of them. So if it goes, it's gone. It's about $165,000 to replace it. And we've had discussions and we've gone through some bidding process. We're also trying to find out if we can qualify for some sort of a subsidy, either from FPL or some other program to reduce the cost of that. The chillers are performing fine for now, but yes, it is our, actually here at ESG, it is our #1 priority in terms of a capital replacement. The answer is yes. On the capital campaign, we've done well so far with our facilities. I mean, they are not that old, but they are old enough that things are starting to break here. So we spent, for example, last year, we probably spent close to $250,000 and probably even more than that replacing various things. We replaced boilers at Berlin. The pools seem to need constant repairs of one kind or another, be it a pump or a heater for the jacuzzi or whatever it is. We're lucky in that we have not had major capital issues or facilities issues, but that's also largely because we have tremendous talent on our facilities managers who really are, we are lucky to have our chief facility manager as a master electrician. He's an expert at fixing things, and we've gotten way further under his help than we have any reason to deserve. Berlin's a little bit different. Berlin has a number of different air conditioners, so in a sense it's an advantage because if one goes, the whole facility doesn't go down, but it also means we have a lot of condensers around the property that are also getting old and need to be replaced. So that is probably second in priority on our capital campaign. That's probably another $150,000 to do the kind of replacements that we'd like to do. The next priority is our roofs. So the roof here again at ESJ it leaks a lot. I swim in the pool often, and that kind of leaks like a sieve when it rains hard. So we are looking at that also as a potential replacement. That's going to be in the range of about $500,000 to do that. Berlin has a slightly different problem. It's got a lot of different roofs, although they're all in better shape than the one here. So So we are working on that. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because that is our next step in the giving, is we've been working on campaigns that are based around specific needs for things like the floor in the studio here. We did some work up at Berlin. We are, though, going to get into larger capital campaign drives, and, the initial amount is probably going to be close to $1 million. That will be the goal there. And so we'll talk to you more about that, as we go, but that is definitely, a priority for us. Okay, so this is a compound question. Number one point, I understand our Y is losing a considerable amount of money every month. Two, why not become a legitimate YMCA under Sky Family, which is solvent? Number three, and if we are members, why aren't we voting on this issue? We need lots of new equipment in Berlin. Machines are failing and cables are fraying, I think. Okay, so considerable amount of money being lost every month. Yes, we continue to lose money, but it is very narrow compared to what it used to be. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were completely shut down, we were going through about $70,000 a month. And this was after significant efforts to cut costs. We are now on the cusp of breaking even. We are within a few thousand of break even. And that is phenomenal because we only have 4,100 memberships now. Again, that's a small amount, but the fact that because of the efforts of our staff, we are able to break even on that number. And we are getting, our membership is going back up. People are finally coming back to to our facilities. They feel safer, and so we expect that to continue. So I think by the end of this year, we're going to be in a good financial position. Again, we did not enter into these discussions with Sky because we felt we were in financial difficulty or they needed to save us or could save us. Because the truth is that they couldn't. If we had been in big trouble, they wouldn't have had the wherewithal to do that. Again, the YMCA, I think we've already discussed why the decisions, why we decided not to do that. Members voting on the issue, we really looked again at we looked at this from a financial standpoint. Okay, my background is in banking. I've been a commercial banker for 30 years. And so what I did is I looked at this as a credit decision. And the credit decision was, we have managed these assets for almost 2 years now. Do we feel that there's an operator out there that we feel comfortable conveying these assets to? We need $3 million to be able to pay off our bank loan. And that's only because of the generosity of our donors who gave $1.2 million at the time of purchase, and including 2 massive donations for $500,000 each. And on top of that, hundreds of thousands of donations before. So having done all of this, are we going to entrust another entity with the decision to run these assets for us? The answer we came to was no. And it was carefully considered, and it involved a lot of things, including how YMCA manages things, how we manage things, the programs we have, and everything else. So, based on the feedback we've gotten from members, and we've got a lot of feedback, we believe that we made the right decision at this time. New equipment, we are continuing to work on that. I don't really have a good answer for you right now. I mean, we've been, again, busy just managing through the pandemic, so we'll take a closer look at things that need to be replaced. I think we're in a position now where we can actually do that. So. Yeah, when is the roof going to be fixed? We talked about that. Don't have a date yet. One thing I do want to mention also is that on the business of the energy costs, one other thing we're looking at, there are companies in Florida that they will look at your energy usage. So they'll look at your lights, for example, around the facility. They'll look at your air conditioners. They'll look at various things. And they'll determine how much they think you can save if they upgrade the equipment. They make a capital investment themselves. And then they give you a certain amount of discount on the energy savings. Typically, it's around the range of 25 to 30%, and we get to keep about 5% of that. Doesn't sound like a great deal, except for one thing, which is that if you're going to replace all the lights in here, you're going to be putting LED lights in. And LED lights are not reliable in general. I mean, they tell you they're going to run 20,000 hours. Sometimes you get 400 hours out of it. Sometimes you get the 20,000. So for us, that may be a good deal that we're looking at, and we're looking at that. So we'll let you know what we've decided to do on that. So that's when, and we may actually get air conditioners out of that deal as well. So we're still in discussions on that. Does the county, next question, does the county fix the parking lot? Yes, they do fix the parking lot. Don't know when that will be, but the answer is yes. Is that all you got? Okay. All right. Then thank you very much. Thank you. Let's see here.
One question.
Yes.
I think it might be worth a mention about Smile Amazon, which doesn't cost you anything more. You just go to Smile Amazon instead of regular Amazon, make your purchase, and a small percentage goes to whatever nonprofit you want it to go to. I've selected the Y, our Y for mine. So I mean, it's a small percentage, but it all adds up, and it doesn't cost the purchaser anything more.
Yep, we are participating.
Oh, okay, great. Are we?
Yeah.
You want to speak to that?
We've been promoting that since we've been.
Yes, you can go to smile.amazon.com and select Save ROI as your charity of choice, and they do donate a small percentage. So, and it does add up a little bit, not a huge amount, but everything counts in the end. So we appreciate ways you can give.
Okay, great. Thanks, Craig. All right. I think we have, I'd like to ask Carly Campbell to make, I think we have an announcement to make. It's all right.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Okay? Good. So, they always tell you to start off your speech with a joke, and I found something a lot better. I have some very good news. Lisa and Rhonda talked about the family that we are, okay? Everybody knows the people in their group. In my case, it's a spinning group. And we've known people for 25 years. We go to the beach and have cookouts. We're going to have a curry dinner on Saturday night. We support each other as friends when friends are injured. We go out and help them. So that becomes part of our family here. And everyone in here, I'm sure, has your own group, all right? Two of the really strong groups that I know, that I've known for years, and these guys are absolutely as tight as they can be, are racquetballers and handballers. So, as you go through the years here, the decades in a lot of our cases, you become friends, close friends, with a lot of people. And we're always very sorry to hear if one of those close friends passed away. But just before we came in this evening, a young fellow named Brad came up to me and he said, I have something for you. It was from a gentleman named Charles Ray. I don't know if anybody ever knew Charles Ray. I knew him passing in the hall and waved to him. That's about it. But Charles Ray, his family was the one. Charles Ray also had no other family. So towards the end of his life, he decided to bequest his estate to our wife. Now this young fellow, Brad, he kind of smiled real big. He's a big guy anyway, I was glad he was smiling. And he says, I have a check for you for $50,000. So I guess my thought about turning the handball rackets into spin rooms is probably out the door. We're not going to do that. But the other part of this you should know is that there is another check coming after this one, and it's even bigger. So I think the point of all of this is that the family that we become here, the close individuals that we know and appreciate and frankly love, that those are the people that support us the most. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Charles Ray, and I want to thank all of you, because I know almost all of you, and most of you I saw here that very first night. So thank you for your support, thank you for your membership, thank you for being here tonight.
I just want to quickly say there's been a request to introduce the members on our board. So I'll start with Charlie Campbell. I think everybody knows Charlie. He's been a partner in crime from the beginning. Lucia Barrett, who has really started all of this. If you remember back in August a couple of years ago, this was where Steve Bourne was standing, right here. And that's where this all got started. Libby Schafer, Ed Landis, and our latest board member, Kyle Carboy, and I'm not sure if we should offer our condolences or congratulations, but we're happy to have